Yo, yo, yo! What's up, all you burners, stoners, and potheads out there? This is Weedman 420 with the Weedman 420 Chronicles. How are all you vipers doing out there? Mrs. Weedman.
Mr. Weedman.
How the hell are you?
Fantastic.
Fan-fucking-tastic?
Frickin' A, yeah.
I love it. Love it. Love it. Hey, everybody out in the world. Hope you're doing awesome. Hopefully you're smoking big fat doinks while you're listening to the show. Before we get started, I would like to say peace be with you all in the world out there. We need it right now. To all you people out there in the Ukraine and all around Europe and all around Russia and all around the world, peace be with you, man. We need peace. We need love. We need cannabis in our lives. We need happiness. We need to come together as one human race. Fuck all this fighting. We need to solve the world's problems with love. I can't say any more about it because it just breaks my heart. Man, come on, world. We need to come together right now. As what's his name said from the Beatles? Come together right now over me. John Lennon. Man, peace be with you all. Anyway, we're going to get started smoking. We are smoking Bubba Kush. Mrs. Weeman's going to light that joint up, that big fat doink we're going to smoke, and I'll read what Bubba Kush is. This is an indica-dominant hybrid, an 80-20, 80% indica, 20% sativa. Bubba Kush is also known as Bubba OG Kush, BK. It's an indica-dominant strain. It's thought to be an Afghani OG Kush cross, a favorite of breeders and patients alike. Bubba Kush packs a head-spinning high that will leave you flying for hours and hours on end. It starts with a subtle boost of spirits, filling your mind with happiness. Everyone out in the world smokes some fucking Bubba Kush that leaves you with no room for negative or racing thoughts. This heady happiness will have you feeling unfocused and slightly sleepy sometimes. A soothing body high. Man, that smells great. Yeah. A cerebral lift, filling you with senses of calm that has you kicked back and pain-free for hours on end. With these effects, this strain THC ranges around 27% with 2.15 terpenes. Woo, Mrs. Weeman choking over there.
I took 2 really big hits.
Bubba Kush is often chosen to treat those suffering from conditions such as mood swings, or depression, cramps, or muscle spasms, chronic stress, and chronic pain. This bud has slightly sweet and hashy, flowery coffee flavor with touches of rich, spicy chocolate. The aroma is of earthy hash and mocha coffee with touches of spicy flowers to it. Bubba Kush buds have oversized and airy, heart-shaped dark olive green nugs with long, thin, bright orange hairs and coating of tiny white crystal trichromes, dripping with sweat, sticky resin. That's amazing. Some effects: calming, euphoria, happy, relaxing, uplifting. Chronic, some relief symptoms is chronic pain, cramps, depression, mood swings, muscle spasms, and stress. Like we said, some of the flavors are chocolate, coffee, flowery, hashy, spicy, sweet. Aromas are chocolate, coffee, earthy, hash, herbal, spicy. Did you get any of that, Mrs. Weedman? Any of that feeling?
No, because I keep eating stupid cough drops before we record. So I'll smoke it again before the end of the show.
There you go. I'm going to smoke, but Mrs. Weedman's going to fucking tell you a story that happened last week. And I'm not going to ruin it. I'm just going to say one thing. I was downstairs, pretty high, coming upstairs to get Mrs. Weedman to go to bed, and Mrs. Weedman, I thought she was dead.
I'm glad that's
stoned,
funny. That's funny,
stoned,
huh? Funny.
Dead fucking stoned on the couch, like out.
Oh my gosh.
Fucking baked. Fucked up out of her mind.
I was like shush. It was like the equivalent of
Tell
being
the story.
Wasted. Okay. So we got this product, and it's from Arise, which is a cultivator here in Illinois. And
really good flower, by the way.
Yeah, they're all hydroponic, really clean product. And they make a full spectrum hash oil. So it looks like RSO.
Which Mr. Weedman likes very much, by the way.
It dispenses like RSO. It's like a little syringe, and you take essentially like a size of a sesame seed or the size of a rice kernel, right?
Yep.
So the first night we tried it, we did like a size of a sesame seed because we're like, oh, it's hash oil. That's pretty intense. Let's start small. It was like comfortable, but like a one hit from a joint kind of high.
Maybe
like
2, yeah.
subtle, right? I'm like, I think I could go a little more. So the next time I gave us each like a rice kernel size. Well, I'm sitting at my computer working. It's
Actually,
like,
wait.
what?
They were a little bit bigger than rice kernels.
No, it wasn't.
Yes, it was. It was a little bit bigger than a rice kernel.
No, it wasn't.
It was. You put it on a pretzel. I saw it. I was like, ooh, that's a lot. It was a little bit bigger.
Well, anyway, he's dramatic. It was a rice kernel. And I was careful with the dose because I want to know like what the dose is. So visually, I'm pretty good with spatial awareness. I'm like, that's a rice kernel. Mr. Weedman thinks it was like what? Like a lima bean?
Not that big.
It wasn't that big.
No.
Anyway,
it was big.
It was big. Okay. So I'm sitting at my computer, maybe 9 o'clock at night, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh shit. My senses were like on fuego. Everything. I could hear like, I felt like a wolf. What the fuck? I think I hear an ambulance that's like 500 miles away. Oh my God. I hear a neighbor breathing. Oh my God. I hear this. Oh, and I was like, oh, this is getting bad. And then I was like, I don't think I was having heart palpitations. I just felt like I didn't know what the frick was going on. And then I felt spinny. And then I felt nauseous. And then I was like, oh, this isn't good. So
boy.
Shut down the computer. I tried to eat something, like have a little snack. Didn't work. I go on the couch and I like rolled up in the fetal position with a blanket over my head. I had like the spins. I was so bad. So Mr. Weedman finally comes up from the basement. Time to go up to bed. Come on, let's go. And I got off the couch and like my body felt like it wasn't working. I was all crunched and hunched over. I looked like a little rickety rackety old lady that needed a walker. And I'm like, Mr. Weedman,
my arm and I'm trying to help you up the stairs.
I was afraid to walk. I felt like everything was like stiff and frozen in my body. I couldn't even walk. Oh my God, it was awful. So, good lesson. And I think that is definitely the highest I've ever been. I've had like one or two times where I got too high and I wasn't comfortable with it. But like you manage. This was like bad. Yeah. It was really bad.
We're going to try it again. I mean, I like it. So to me, I ate the same dose Mrs. Weedman had and I was fine. I was high, but I wasn't her high.
But here's the good thing. Like if that was booze and I like way overdid it on booze, my whole next day and maybe the day after that, I'd be shot, right? Like you want to just cry and sleep. And you felt fine. I woke up in the morning and it was like nothing ever happened.
So we're going to try it again, of course. So it's just
finding that dose.
Finding that dose.
And this is a new I mean, I've never had, I don't think I've smoked a little bit of hash like in a blunt, right?
Yeah.
But I've never had hash oil.
No, because we never made we made alcohol tincture, but I never turned it into RSO, Rick Simpson oil. I never condensed it down into tar like that. You know, I call it tar. It's not tar, but I call it that. But
pretty cool.
We didn't turn it into that, but my brother makes the Rick Simpson oil, which I've tried, and he's made it in root beer. He's used it in popcorn. I mean, if you got to be careful with it. I mean, it's not for the faint-hearted. It's if you overdo it, you're going to be
feel like Mrs. Weedman.
Yeah, you're going to be fucked up. So start low and really go slow on any kind of full spectrum hash oil, any kind of oils out there. I mean, you can smoke this too. You could put this in a dab rig and smoke it out of a dab rig too. Oh. So there's a lot. I mean, this is like over 80% concentrated too. So it's pretty legit. I mean, I like it a lot. I mean, I'm
gonna stick to sesame seed side.
There you go. Stick to the sesame seed side. So, all right. I feel a little baked. I feel good.
I'm high. Yeah.
Nice. I love it.
And you remember when I used to hate when you'd be like, I'm high? Because to me, it had such a connotation of like a drug addict. Like, my husband's high. Like, really? Seriously? You're high. And now that's all I ever say. Remember when I used to hate the F-bomb? And it's like, I can't shut my mouth these days.
Deb from Dexter. Gotcha.
She inspired me.
She inspired you to use that. I think
probably not the best thing to be inspired to drop F-bombs.
Why? So. The F word is the best word ever created. You could use it in a bazillion different ways. It all depends on how you take it.
It's amazing.
It's the best word ever.
It does depend on how you take it.
Right. There you go, Mrs. Weedman with the funnies. I love it. All right. Since we're talking about full spectrum hash oil, I've been hearing a lot lately, been reading a lot lately, been talking to people a lot about this lately, is the complete guide to solventless versus non-solventless cannabis concentrates. You're going to be seeing this a lot. I've talked about all the different hash oils and I've talked about, dabbing, and I gave the layout a long time ago. But in the market today, you're starting to see a lot on the West Coast, people talking about solventless versus non-solventless cannabis concentrates. You're just starting to see it here in Illinois getting talked about. You see it in Michigan. You're starting to see it pop up in different states who are really going into this. And let's go into this because I think it's very interesting. I have 2 articles. I'm only going to read one. We'll post the other one. We'll post both on our site, and you can research it too. But just so you know what you're getting into, what you're going to be, I'm excited about it because you're getting the purity of the plant. So let's go into it. Nowadays, more and more people are being made aware of the benefits of consuming cannabis resin extracts or concentrates. They are more efficient with high purity and potency. They have a better flavor and give relief more quickly than smoking or vaping flowers. Indeed, in California, cannabis flowers currently make up just over half of the market, with extracts making up the remaining 45%, according to figures from Colorado, another beacon of legislation in the U.S. The concentrate market is growing at an astounding rate, with sales at 125% from 2015 to 2016 compared to 11% rise in flower sales and the 53% rise in edibles. Solvent, non-solvent, solventless, and solvent-free. Here it is. What's the difference? These terms are increasingly common to see in the menu in dispensaries or cannabis clubs, but they can cause some confusion. So let's examine the real meaning behind them with the context of cannabis world. Solvent extracts are those that are carried out using usually a hydrocarbon-like purified butane gas, solvent to dissolve the active ingredients and separate them from the plant material. Solventless or non-solvent is a label applied to products that have been extracted mechanically without the use of solvents. Now, here's where it can get a bit confusing. Solvent-free is a term used to describe products that were originally extracted with a solvent but later distilled in a laboratory to remove any traces of solvent residue. So they started as a solvent extracts but now are 100% free of any residual solvents, as opposed to well-purged BHO, which will always contain a certain, however minuscule amount of solvent. Solventless or non-solvent concentrates. These are extracts of concentrated products without the use of a solvent, sometimes referred to as mechanical extractions, including hash, dry sift, bubble hash, and rosin. Many smokers and dabbers prefer to consume extracts for health reasons, especially those using medical cannabis. As opposed to solvent-based extracts, there's no risk of inhaling any residual or potentially harmful solvents if the product isn't properly purged. Solventless extractions have the added benefit of being almost completely safe to carry out at home, with no risk of burning or explosions from using flammable solvents, and no need to invest in expensive equipment. While solvent extracts boast a higher purity overall, with quality material, skill, and patience, it's possible to achieve similar or even better quality results using non-solvent techniques, although yields at the higher quality tend to be much lower than, for example, BHO. Solventless devotes are undeterred and more than willing to take this loss in the exchange for consuming clean, natural concentrates. And like I said, I've seen this in states now popping up here and there more and more and reading about when I go into other states. So this is new learning to me, but I do start to understand it and see it more. So hash. When we talk about hash, we're usually referring to dark block resin imported from hash-producing countries like Morocco, Lebanon, Pakistan, and Afghanistan. Hash has a very long history and is produced in large quantities using traditional methods that vary according to the country, but often involve drying plants in full sun and vigorous beating over fine screens to collect the resin heads. These are then heat pressed into blocks for export. Quality can vary widely, with the very finest blonde hash commanding high prices in coffee shops of Amsterdam. Most of what is produced, however, is a medium to low quality, has a very low THC content from 6 to 17%, and some CBD and very low terpene levels, with a typical generic and degraded terpene profile, and contain much contamination in the form of the plant matter as a result of the lively bashing the flowers receive as the farmers try to shake all the resin off the plants. In the worst case, import hash has been found to contain such adulterants as henna, shoe polish, rubber, beeswax, animal dung, and pine resin. Always know where you're getting your shit from, everybody. Among other unsavory substances added to increase the bulk or make the hash softer and appear of a higher grade. Fortunately, the increase of home growing has reduced the demand for imported hash somewhat, and at the same time, awareness of issues surrounding qualities have increased both import and export countries. So at least in Morocco, farmers and hash producers are beginning to change methods and export a much higher grade product, as you can read in this article I'm going to post. So I'm not going to go through the whole thing. Charas, a traditional Indian method that is possibly the simplest and most straightforward method of hash production, and one of the oldest. No equipment is required, as the process involves hand rubbing live cannabis flowers on a plant or freshly cut, not dried, to remove the resin. The result is a hash that is much more squidgety, and soft than that beaten over screens, and has a good reputation for high quality worldwide, especially for the higher terpene content. Charas is normally quite dark in color and sold as balls or sticks, and traditionally would be smoked in stone chillum, that's easier to like burn it. So the Hindu monks, for whom it plays an important part of their rituals and religious practices. Then there's dry sift and keef. This is hash made with the light agitation of dried buds over a fine mesh screen, basically a refinement of the traditional sieving process, updated to yield a much higher quality end product. So and then there's another one. Like I said, I'm not going to go through all this. Static dry shift. This is the purest form of dry hash. Resin heads that have been subject to a thorough cleaning process, employing various screens and using static electricity and one of the other forms to remove any part of form of the trichomes. This is the one you see a lot, the dry ice method. I've seen a lot of videos. I know a lot of people that make it this way. You could do it at home. It is so simple. There's videos about it. I know, like, I've smoked some good ice hash, bubble hash. Just trust me when I tell you, if you know somebody that can make it, you'll be extremely happy. These two methods are basically super cool dry sift, where the material is exposed to extremely low temperature, minus 78 degrees Celsius in the case of dry ice, and much lower for liquid nitrogen, and then agitated on a mesh screen to separate the trichome glands from leaf matter. These methods both have the advantage of being very fast processes, enabling a full extraction in a matter of minutes and offering a very good yields compared to regular dry sift. The disadvantages of these extractions, at least from the point of view of hash connoisseurs, is that the extreme temperatures being used lead to the leaf matter becoming so brittle that is not treated with the utmost care if you can break down to a form fine dust that contaminates the end result, often leading to hash with green tint. We've written in this article, so check out this article I'm talking about if you want to learn more. Then there's fresh frozen dry sift. There's bubble hash, which I like. Isolator water hash, ice water extracts. And you probably see that in the market today. Fresh frozen bubble hash. Yummy. Rosin, which I've talked about. Yummy. And then there's flower rosin, hash rosin, and then there's solventless THCA. So it'll be posted. Read all about it all you want. It'll take me about an hour to go through all the articles, so I'm not going to do it to you because now I'm baked. Mrs. Weedman?
Yeah, I'm here.
Tell us a story, will you?
Yeah. Led by gummies, edibles keep pace with growth of overall U.S. cannabis market. Ooh, I've got cotton mouth. Huh.
The show just started. No, I'm just kidding.
Like 2 words in. Sorry, I'm out of here. Gummies continue to dominate the U.S. edibles market, particularly among new cannabis consumers, although other consumable products are growing in popularity, including those that replicate the whole plant experience, as well as healthier options. Gummies accounted for nearly $1 billion in retail sales last year, capturing more than 70% of the category's share across 6 recreational cannabis markets, tracked by Seattle-based data analytics firm Headset. Those markets include California, Colorado, Michigan, Nevada, Oregon, and Washington State. Cooper Ashley, Headset's senior data analyst, said the only other segment to grow faster was the caramel, chew, and taffy component. All other segments saw their share of the edibles market decline, reflecting the increasing popularity of gummies.
Gummies. Gummies.
According to retail sales data from the 6 states Headset tracks, overall edible sales grew by more than 20% in 2020. The total cannabis market, by comparison, grew at 18.4%. Ashley noted that the edibles category dropped from the 3rd to 4th largest category by total sales last year, trailing sales of pre-rolls by only $45 million. Despite the drop, the outlook for edibles is considered bullish among industry executives. It's a solid category and it will grow as the industry grows and people learn how to use gummies or candies and learn their benefits, said David Catazano, head of cannabis operations for Tilt Holdings, a multi-state operator headquartered in Phoenix. The companies interviewed for this story agreed that edibles are important for attracting new cannabis consumers who might otherwise shy away from other forms of consumption. Some new consumers, for example, are intimidated by complicated dab rigs or even how to properly roll a joint. Others don't want to inhale smoke and find eating edibles easy, discreet, and convenient, and they can also deliver a consistent, measurable amount of cannabis. Derek Liley, head of merchandising at Chicago-based multi-state operator Cresco Labs, said edibles clearly are more popular among newbies. They're easier to use, he said, and some consumers don't like smoking. Rachel Nicholas, vice president of procurement for Portland, Oregon-based Chalice Brands, agreed that edibles are a good entry-level product for new users. In particular, she added, new users like the consistent dosing. Buy a chocolate bar, break a piece off, and you know exactly how many milligrams you're getting, she said. It's an easy grab-and-go product. Industry executives and consumers said that those around 30 to 45 years old especially seem to be entering the cannabis market via edibles. As edible consumers mature and become more sophisticated, they may want some of the benefits of smoking raw flower that aren't widely available in many other products, including terpenes and a wider array of cannabinoids. The vast majority of edibles are made with THC distillate, which is potent and consistent and doesn't really taste much like cannabis. For some cannabis connoisseurs, there is more to consuming cannabis than just THC. These more seasoned users are seeking out a full range of other components in edibles that are available only when consuming flower, often referred to as the whole plant experience. That's where edibles made with solventless products such as live resin or rosin can fill a need. The solventless extraction process retains many of the terpenes and minor cannabinoids that exist in the whole plant. Liley sees this category evolving. Some of his company's best-selling items are edibles with a ratio of THC and other minor cannabinoids such as CBD, CBG, or CBN. Medical cannabis patients also seek out those whole plant extracts for the benefits they might get from the other cannabinoids, according to Nicholas. Distillates get you high, but it doesn't have the cannabinoids. Catazano sees an opportunity for strain-specific edibles to catch on with consumers with a favorite cultivar. For example, a Blue Dream strain-specific chocolate bar could be a success, he said. Medical cannabis patients who need higher doses of THC might want to avoid a full-calorie chocolate bar every day to get their medicine. As a result, some consumers are focusing on health and wellness in their purchasing decisions, Nicholas said, seeking out low and no sugar options.
There's not many
low
sugar or no sugar out there in the market that I've seen.
Yeah.
I'm at dispensaries a lot.
Right. To cater to that market, her company makes a vegan edible with beet sugar, which has a relatively low glycemic index.
I like beet sugar.
Mm-hmm. Catazano, meanwhile, said his company is looking into making a sugar-free line of edibles. People have gotten tired of the high-calorie edible, he said. Edibles that work quickly can help to prevent the dreaded scenario where a consumer takes a dose, grows impatient, then takes another only to find out that they've overconsumed. The fast-acting edibles trend has been around for a few years, but it's crucial to the success of this segment, said BJ Coretta, head of brands for multi-state operator Columbia Care, based in New York. Fast acting is a must, Coretta said. You need it. A consistent, quick effect builds consumer confidence, he added. There's nothing worse than a bad edibles experience. Liley agreed, saying fast-acting products could be an important part of the future of the edibles category. He said older consumers in particular want lower doses that work efficiently. Unfortunately, if you've had a bad first experience with edibles, you're unlikely to go back. So it's hard to undo having a bad edible experience. So, yeah.
Edibles, gummies, and you just talked about hard candies last time. You know, we try to update everything on the edible market. It is a big market. It's growing like crazy. It's. I'll give you a quick little story. I was talking to, I was on Discord with one of Paulie's friends, and we were talking about, he said, Mr. Weedman, what are you doing? I said, smoking a joint. Oh, you smoke? I'm like, yeah, I smoke every night. I smoke every chance I get after work. And he's like, I'm not into smoking weed. I'm like, oh, that's all right, man. To each his own. A month later, we're talking, and he goes, what are you doing? I said, I just got done eating an edible. He goes, oh, I love edibles. I'll eat. I said to him, but didn't you say you don't like smoking weed? He's like, edibles are different. No one really notices. I'm like, okay, well, whatever. It's
Still weed.
So weird. So weird. But, you know, it is. We talked, how many people we met in the last 3, 4, 5 years when you mentioned cannabis to them, they're like, oh, I love edibles. And you were looking at them like, really, you? Okay, cool. You know, would you ever smoke a joint? I got one. Nah, I don't smoke weed, but I love edibles.
Yeah, but edibles all day.
All right. You know?
Hey, whatever.
Yeah.
It is THC either way, but whatever.
THC for me.
Yeah. Well, it's the stigma that's built around smoking a joint, right?
100%. Cannabis testing for truck drivers is becoming a leading cause of growing national trucker shortages, experts say. Wells Fargo executive said drug testing for cannabis is causing a shortage of truck drivers. As more states move to legalize cannabis, standards for testing truckers have become more stringent, and then as of December, over 60,000 truckers have been temporarily taken off the road for testing positive for cannabis use. That's crazy.
Yeah.
They need to fix that. When a trucker's off and when he's not working, let him relax. He's on the road for months at a time. Let him go home and smoke some weed. They need to figure this shit out and fast. I want a better quality of life. Do you want a better quality of life? I think everybody out in the world wants a better quality of life.
Right? I was having like I don't know.
A moment?
I was having an emotional afternoon. I think on Saturday, I was working at my computer. TV was on. I think there was like a story about someone from the Olympics. I don't know. And then something was like people with talents or people that have at a young age figured out what they were like designed and intended to be and do. It's just, to me, that's just fascinating. Like, you know, so a lot of people go through life and don't really know what they're supposed to do. So it's very inspiring to see those stories. I'm, watching TV and sobbing about something. And I'm really high, so I forgot what's my point?
You were having an emotional Saturday.
Yeah. Shoot.
And we were talking about better quality of life.
And then I was like, so then I started thinking like, this modern world that we've created where everything is so readily available and we don't even know how to wait, for anything anymore. Like if you ordered something from a store and it takes a week, you're like just beside yourself. Like, are you kidding me? Right. So everything is so instant. We raise everybody to think that instant is the only way things can be done. Like I always thought it was fascinating, like when maybe the kids that are like in their 20s, when they were young, they were raised with parents with cell phone cameras. And so they learned at a very young age that they could have their picture taken and instantly see it.
Right.
Versus like our kids, you'd have to wait till the film was developed.
Yes.
Right. So at some point when our kids were younger, it went digital, but not the way we have it now. Right. Not on your cell phone. And so I don't know. Then I was like in this like, not only do we create like this, like give me everything right now society, we also work so, I don't know if we work so much, work smart, work hard. We work a lot harder. We spend a lot more time trying to earn money so that we can have these things that then cost more money, which make you have to work to get more money, which make you buy more things because you have less time. Where am I going, Mr. Weedman?
Well, can I say something?
Yeah.
You took 2 genius pills too, and you were like 50 miles per hour.
Yeah.
That's why your mind was going all over the place.
And then I had like a big part of my day got canceled, like some appointments, and then I just didn't know like I'm supposed to be somewhere right now and I'm not. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, my Lord. I'm really high right now.
Bubba Kush, baby.
Bubba Kush.
Love
I
it.
could just talk all night. So I was just thinking, like, if we just didn't have all these conveniences, then we wouldn't have to work more to have the conveniences that we need because we don't have time because we work. Isn't that a stupid freaking cycle? Like, give me a freaking island with a small little community and let me go fish and swim.
Here's the thing. Mr. and Mrs.
And make
Weedman
things.
are about to turn 50 this year. Okay?
It's very introspective.
So we're look, and I said this during COVID. We were looking through our past. I was looking, like, reflecting a lot on my prior 50 years, I guess. And, like, I've been working since I was 13 years old. I had a paper route. It was my start, and then hadn't stopped working since. And during that time of when I had COVID, I was like, man, I'm about to be 50. We had kids young. We had to work like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I worked 6 days, 7 days a week sometimes to provide for the family. And it's like, it's not that I don't want to work, but I'm tired of like
that dumb cycle.
I want to live.
Yeah, like step off the wheel.
I want to live.
Right?
And seeing everything that's going on in the world today and watching people dying even more.
Like, what is the point?
People have been dying in wars for centuries. That's what I'm saying. But just seeing it now on TV so fast and on social media, and you see people getting killed and wounded and, bombs being dropped all over the world. Just, man, people want to live. I just want to live life,
Take it back to simpler times.
Working is fine. But it's just like, it's all people want to do. You work and then you come home and you're just like, I don't want to do nothing. I worked all day. Then you live for your weekends. What do I say? If it's like Friday at like 4:00.
But then you have so much stuff that you have so much obligation to take care of all these things. And then you don't have even free time on your weekend.
Right.
Blah.
Time goes by so fast, peeps. Just trust me out there, man. Looking back at like the last 50 years, it's like, we just said this the other day, where'd it go?
Nah, I don't know about that. I remember a lot.
I'm not saying I don't remember a lot. I remember a lot, but what I'm saying is, though, time. We were just saying, like, it's already February.
Right.
It's going to be July before we even know it.
Okay.
I'm just saying. Time go by quick.
It does. It does go way too fast.
Oof.
So
tell us about better quality of life.
Better quality of life. This study is pretty cool. They wanted to see if cannabis is associated with better quality of life outcomes. For many years, cannabis opponents around the world portrayed cannabis use as being one of the worst things a person could do for their overall health. New research indicates it may actually improve your quality of life. There are still many parts of the world where the stigma surrounding the cannabis plant is as strong as ever. However, the list of places where that is the case is dwindling. Every passing year results in more jurisdictions reforming their cannabis laws to some degree, especially in regards to medical cannabis. Brazil is one of many countries ramping up cannabis research efforts, and the result of a new study seems to indicate cannabis may boost consumers' quality of life. Researchers in Brazil surveyed 7,491 self-identified cannabis consumers and 839 self-identified non-users. The group of study participants that self-identified as being cannabis consumers went further, being subcategorized as frequent or infrequent consumers. Participants were mostly young males with at least high school education, employed, and without children. The study involved all participants being asked questions regarding anxiety, depression, quality of life, and subjective well-being. All answers were then scored using a standardized scale. Even after controlling for possible co-founders such as demographics and the use of other psychoactive drugs, occasional or habitual self-perception of cannabis use remained associated with better outcomes of quality of life and mental health, researchers said. One thing to note is that people that self-identified as having problematic use ranked the lowest on the standardized scales. However, those participants did not represent all cannabis consumers. The results obtained in this study are particularly relevant because they were obtained from a sample predominantly composed of habitual cannabis users from the general population, a group less frequently represented in other surveys, the study said. The highest scores for quality of life were observed among habitual cannabis users, followed by occasional users, while both non-users and dysfunctional users presented less favorable scores. Subjective measures of well-being were higher among habitual and occasional users than among non-users, whereas dysfunctional users were the most affected. Poor quality of life, depression, or anxiety were more prevalent among dysfunctional users, but non-users of cannabis reported more depression or anxiety symptoms and less quality of life than both occasional and habitual users. Except for the self-perceived dysfunctional cannabis use, the association between cannabis use with an increased risk of adverse health outcomes was not observed in the present study. It is possible that these adverse outcomes generally described in many other studies may be due to publications bias or the fact that our survey data collection strategy predominantly targeted recreational cannabis users, researchers said. Cannabis is the third most used recreational drug worldwide. Despite the popularity of cannabis use among Brazilians, its information about frequent cannabis users outside clinical context remains scarce. The results obtained in this study are particularly relevant because they refer to a sample predominantly composed of habitual users from a general population. The fact that cannabis use is generally associated with increased risk of adverse health outcomes was not observed in the study. Very cool.
Everybody out there in the world,
Smoke
cannabis and have a better quality
Chill
of
out.
life.
The study says so.
But one last thing. All you young folk out there that listen to us, and I appreciate the hell out of you, learn to live. Just learn to live life. Live it to the fullest. Do what you can and all you can because you never know. Never know. Just live life to the fullest. Spend 80% on yourself. Spend 20% on your job. You come first. Your wife, husband, significant other come with you. Your kids come with you. Teach them how to live. Go out there and just do whatever you want to do as long as you don't hurt anybody. Just have fun and grow and just have some fucking great life.
You're reminding me of what was that radio talk show? It was a lady in the evening.
Dr. Ruth? Westheimer?
No.
Dr. Ruth?
Her voice was not soothing. There's a woman who had her own radio show, and it turned into like a book, I think, in a movie.
I don't know.
It's kind of like a romance novel. I think she talks about life and things, and she talks with like a soft library voice.
Nice. Good for her. Talking about living.
You sounded that way.
Livin. Living.
Living.
Police in South... Oh, wait. So here. There's 3 articles all about South Dakota. Man, fucking South Dakota, man, you are bumming me the fuck out. And I'm on a good high right now. Reading these articles again. Just the fucking, what's wrong with you? You just keep on proving to me your voters don't matter. The cannabis community and the voters don't matter in your state. Number 1, police in South Dakota are arresting people who have received medical cannabis cards, tribe says. First. Second, South Dakota Senate approves cannabis legalization and expungence bill while House defeats tax measures. And then, as of a few hours ago, South Dakota House panel rejects Senate-passed cannabis legalization bill while gutting medical cannabis protections. You should all be fucking ashamed. All you political people, all you politicians, all you from the government, Senate, House, governor, you should all be ashamed. Constituents of South Dakota, cannabis community, tribes of South Dakota, vote them out. They lied to you. They fucking lied. I can't believe I'm still even talking about this. The voters wanted it.
Oh my gosh.
Connecticut dispensaries could benefit as state ups medical cannabis purchase limits. 3 ounces could sales bump up. So now allowed to buy up to 3.5 ounces. Good for you. 3 in 4 Florida voters support legalizing cannabis. But how come Florida can't get their ass together and get recreational cannabis approved once and for all? I don't get it. I really don't. So, cannabis laws in Florida. Florida is legal medical cannabis state. The bill was signed into law by Governor Ron DeSantis in 2019. This law permits residents to hold up to 2.5 ounces of medical cannabis every month. The cannabis must be purchased from a licensed cannabis store sold to registered patients under the program. Cannabis-related arrests were reduced once the bill was passed, but a few arrests are still going on in the state. Medical cannabis patients are encouraged to hold on to their physical cannabis possession cards at all times. It's like that here in Illinois, especially when they've been using them. to avoid unnecessary prosecution or fines from the law enforcement. Legalization has been an economic booster for the state. Of course it has. I mean, God, it's like 500,000, almost 600,000 people have their cannabis card in the state of Florida. But it's the third largest state in cannabis right now. It's crazy, and they're only medical. So, the attempts at recreational cannabis legalization. Floridians have worked so hard to approve a recreational bill in the state, all to no avail. Obstacles, big and small, have popped up at crucial times to put a stop to legalization process. Many believe that the availability of medical cannabis in the state is enough reason to hope that recreational cannabis will one day be made available to cannabis lovers and advocates. The biggest obstacle to the legalization of recreational cannabis in the Sunshine State is none other than Governor Ron DeSantis. In previous years, voters have shown massive support for the medical cannabis bill in the state and have requested the approval of recreational cannabis bill. Still, the governor has maintained chiefly an opposing stance on this development. If he runs for president, right there is going to tell you that it'll never go federally legal. It won't, as I wave my finger at Mrs. Weedman. John Hudak, Deputy Director of Center of Effective Public Management in the Brookings Institution, confirmed this statement. He mentioned that the government is solidly behind most of the obstacles that have hindered the proposed policy changes on recreational cannabis. He stressed that the situation may remain the same as Ron DeSantis remains governor. I don't think he's getting voted out anytime soon. According to Deputy Director, the best step is to most likely a ballot initiative, which they tried once before and they missed it. This is more or less out of the question as the state Supreme Court recently ruled out the proposal for the ballot measured. Governor DeSantis has an authoritarian influence on lawmakers in the state, so the change in the state's leadership could have a favorable outcome for legalizing cannabis recreationally. Now, cannabis advocates have to squarely focus on grassroots mobilization to garner support for recreational legalization shortly. So, some last words. The legal recreational cannabis industry will reduce the partial criminalization of people of color over the white population. In addition to this, over $100 million will be pumped into the state economy, causing improvement in the lives of residents across the state. Of course, the wait is getting tiring, but the gains to be made from this wait on the future would be worth it. One day, hopefully before or afterwards the general election of 2024, Florida will have recreational industry of its own. We shall see. Once I know, I'll let you all know. Arkansas medical cannabis sales topped $20 million in January. That's great for Arkansas. Arizona cannabis sales topped $1.4 billion in 2021. They went recreational real quick. I mean, it was like, bam, all of a sudden they were rec, and $1.4 billion just appeared. Crazy. Good for you. Minnesota medical cannabis market poised for big growth, and some new MSOs are getting in the game. I think starting Monday today or Monday next Monday, I think they can start buying flower. Good for you, Minnesota. Don't let the MSOs come in and take it over, though. So here, you know how much I love Oklahoma. So Oklahoma's they just seized $500 million of illegal cannabis. There's a lot of illegal grows going on in that state. They come in, they might buy a quick little license, grow as much as they can, ship it to another state, make that money, and then they're out. And it's getting pretty bad, especially for the people that live in that state. And we've talked about Oklahoma before. It's a medical state only, not very small medical patient group there. They're trying to get it to go rec. It's only 4 million people, and you got people coming in because there's so many licenses that were given out or bought, and people just making that quick dollar. I mean, it's cheap to get a growing license there too. $500 million worth of seized cannabis at that little state of Oklahoma. It's crazy. But here's how they are going to try to fix it. So to me, the party's over in Oklahoma because medical cannabis businesses have 90 days to comply with state seed to sale tracking system. And after nearly a year languishing in court, Oklahoma's cannabis seed to sale tracking system is expected to launch within 90 days, and all growers have 90 days to comply with this. A lawsuit filed last year by attorneys seeking answers to questions about the constitutionality of seed to sale tracking delayed the state's implementation of the system. Now, the attorneys who filed the suit announced Friday that they have reached an agreement with the state, clearing the way for the state to move forward. Implementation of the tracking system is seen as a major step to curbing the illegal cultivation and sale of cannabis in Oklahoma. Officials have said it would improve the effectiveness of the speed of any future recall efforts while allowing law enforcement to detect unusual patterns that may indicate the product is being diverted into the traditional market. So, yes, there's a lot of other states that have this tracking system. One's called Metric. It's one of the biggest ones. It's over, though. So, it's good luck, Oklahoma. Hopefully we'll be back there again. Don't fuck it up, please, man. It's such a great state for cannabis. New Jersey governor says adult use cannabis sales will start within weeks. Good for you, Jersey. There's a lot of weed about to be sold. Here's something crazy. Cannabis prices plummeted in Michigan. Customers are happy. Farmers are worried. They were saying an ounce has gone down 70% to $152 in January versus $516 in December of 2019. There's an abundance of cannabis flower in Michigan. So they said even what happened in November when they took 66,000 pounds off the shelves for mold, but they're saying there's a lot still being grown. Don't forget, Michigan did $1.8 billion in sales in 2021. So as flower prices drop, competitiveness is going to happen. They're going to try to draw you in. Find yourself a caregiver. They grow better weed anyway. Maryland House approves bills to put cannabis legalization on November ballot and sets rules if its voters approve. Good for you, Maryland. Here's one. California bill will protect cannabis users from unemployment discrimination. This is big. California employers would be barred from discriminating against employees for cannabis use while off the job under legalization introduced last week. The measure AB 2188 was introduced in the California Assembly by Democratic Assembly member Bill Quirk on February 15th. If passed, AB 2188 would end discrimination based on drug testing for cannabis metabolites, which are non-psychoactive substances that can be detected in a person's bodily fluids for up to several weeks. Good for you, California. Pass that law. What I have said, people at home, let them fucking smoke weed. So, court. This is from the courts. Medical cannabis can't be taxed in New Mexico. Good for you, New Mexico. Here's something crazy. Nearly 500,000 Americans work in the cannabis industry. That came out from Leafly. 500,000 now. It was like around 400,000 just a year ago. It's going to be, and if this goes full states, fully federally legal, you're talking about the cannabis industry can employ like 2 to 5 million people. Cannabis industry saving the world. Hell yeah. Do it. Apple is now joining Amazon in support of cannabis legalization. Of course they are. They want to get in the money. They're going to make some big purchases. Watch what happens. I went to college. Sometimes.
I took a class.
Yeah, you did. You only took one.
One.
One class.
It's not funny.
Did you finish it?
I paid someone to write my paper for me.
Maybe
I got caught.
Maybe if you had cat.
I failed miserably.
All right.
I'm a hard worker.
I'm not making fun of that at all.
Don't like
Just
school.
school's not your thing.
It's not my thing.
You fucking kick ass and take names and fucking work harder than me. Talk about college students.
Yeah.
Talk about cannabis and college students.
Got a study here that says college students who use cannabis show signs of greater motivation compared to non-users. Researchers are again challenging the idea that people who smoke cannabis lack motivation, with a recent study suggesting that the opposite may be true. The study, published in the journal Experimental and Clinical Psychopharmacology, tested the stereotype by recruiting 47 college students, 25 frequent cannabis consumers, and 22 non-users, and asking them to participate in a series of behavioral assessments known as Effort Expenditure for Rewards Task. Past studies on the issue have used divergent methodology and have not controlled for key confounding variables, the researchers wrote. The new study sought to adjust for those variables and found that past month cannabis days and cannabis use disorder symptoms predicted the likelihood of selecting a high-effort trial. In other words, frequent cannabis consumers were actually more likely than the control group to select tasks that signal higher levels of motivation. The results provide preliminary evidence suggesting that college students who use cannabis are more likely to expand upon effort to obtain a reward, even after controlling for the magnitude of the reward and the probability of the reward receipt, they wrote. Thus, these results do not support the anti-motivational syndrome hypotheses. Contrary to the amotivational syndrome hypotheses, college students using more cannabis were more likely to select the high-effort choice option, regardless of the reward magnitude, probability, and expected value of the overall reward. Although there was not a significant difference between cannabis use groups, there was a medium-sized effect, lending consistent support for an association between cannabis use and greater high-effort choices. The study authors at the University of Memphis did note the results don't necessarily signal that frequent cannabis users employ impairment-free, goal-directed behavior, however. And they said more studies with larger sample groups should be pursued. On a related note, a study published in 2019 found that people who use cannabis report that consuming before or after exercising improves the experience and aids in their recovery. And those who do not use cannabis to elevate their workout tend to get a healthier amount of exercise. A 2020 study of older Americans found that cannabis consumers tended to do more formal exercise and engage in more physical activities than non-consumers during the course of a 4-month trial. Another study published last year similarly concluded that adolescent use of cannabis did not predict changes in motivation, which suggests that cannabis use may not lead to reductions in motivations over time. We say that all the time.
We do.
Cannabis does not make you lazy.
Nope. Might make Mrs. Weedman pass out on the couch every now and then, but
yeah, every once in a while.
International news. Medical cannabis in Australia. To all my friends down under, one day Mrs. Weedman and I will be smoking some big fat doinks with you down there. Medical cannabis patients are growing at an incredible rate as normies start to realize real potential in the wonderful flower. In fact, figures show that more than 170,000 Australians have already been approved access to medical ganja. That's awesome. So good. So stigma attached to the devil's weed is steadily dissipating. Remember getting offered a joint as a party as a young teen, worried to toke, scared you'd see dragons coming out of the walls, bringing flower-infused flames as the coagulated blood on your ceiling. Silly ideas merely manifested through government propaganda stemming from the failed war on drugs. Well, nowadays, it isn't a joint getting passed. It's the glass of rosé. Friends now pressure peers into smoking hits of meth instead. Weed is for babies is at their child. Meth makes you IQ go up. This is not a fabricated story. Someone I knew was at a party recently and saw a couple of 14-year-olds trying to coax a friend to kiss the pipe. My friend put a stop to it. Good for that friend. And lectured them. They didn't care. Oof. So this writer has had experience with Xanax and talks a little bit about like how Xanax got him all fucked up. And then he goes into the pros and cons of Xanax and why you should use THC and instead to help you with all the issues that you have for why you take Xanax instead. Get off the Xanax, get off the fucking pipe, and get to cannabis instead is what he's trying to say in this article. So how to get your medical cannabis script. So I'm sure you'll be pleased there will be no jumping through an arduous series of hoops in order to get the help you need. Multiple doctor visits, thousands of forms to fill, and lie detector tests are not necessary. All you need to do is get in touch with Canatrek to book a free consultation over the phone. I spoke with them for 5 minutes discussing my situation and was given contact details to a qualified doctor. I visited his office, spoke with him briefly, and within minutes was being shown products online that could heal my ailments. Everything from Canadian bud to THC oil tinctures, educating me on different strands. Another fallacy is the overpricing. Never fear, you will find it fairly reasonable. I believe a 10-gram jar of bud is around 180 AUD, and the quality is 5 times stars, what this writer gives it. So in closing, cannabis has given him the exact effects that Xanax did, which was stress relief, but without the multitude of problems. During bouts of depression or particularly anxious days, a vape of cannabis is my very own miracle cure. It does have one major side effect people may be wary of that he forgot to mention. He gets the dreaded munchies. So this writer, it's a great. I'll have Mrs. Weedman post this on our in one of the articles so you guys can read about it. But who wrote this? Sophomore Rose is his name. Really, I mean, he told how it affected him, which I think is a really good story, and how he wrote about, how he saw the devil's lettuce and his experience with Xanax. It's a really touching article and what it did for him and what cannabis has helped him do this. So I'll have Mrs. Weedman posted. You guys can read it. I think it's really cool, especially all my friends down in Australia. Love you down there. Thanks for the pics today too. Love it, love it, love it. Some weed and his puppies, great. So Botswana High Court upholds cannabis license for single firm to produce cannabis goods. So in this country, Botswana, Fresh Standard Limited was granted exclusive rights to cultivate cannabis in Botswana. Initially, the license was canceled by the Agricultural Permit Secretary acting outside his mandate. Government has now been ordered to reimburse Fresh Standard for the losses incurred, and also they have the rights now to produce hemp and cannabis in that state, in that country. So I feel just Botswana, don't let just one company do it. Teach your people how to grow it. Let them do it and let them sell and make the money. Don't let one big corporate company come and take it over. Israeli study finds cannabis can reduce need for other medications. Israel is one of the foremost leaders in research in cannabis since Dr. Magellan back in '69 when he discovered THC. So they are the foremost leader, I believe, in cannabis study. So, I mean, that's great. I mean, they're finding more and more stuff going on with not using pharmaceuticals and instead using cannabis. So fucking, man, their research and their history, like I said, is unbelievable there. So just go Israel, man. Keep on finding stuff. So Canada's legalization of cannabis has contributed $43.5 billion to the national GDP. That's just not overall on sales. That's everything that the cannabis has done for that country since they went recreational in 2018. $43.5 billion. And just from 2018 to 2021, the end of 2021. Wow. That's fucking huge. There's money in it for everybody. That's the thing that pisses me off.
Or I just think about like how many people it takes to consume cannabis to build up those kind of numbers. Like everybody's freaking smoking weed.
Right. But what I'm saying is that kind of money.
How many households
there's enough money in it for everybody.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? To make something, and that's what I mean, there should be licenses for people who can't afford the $1 million licenses to be able to grow, farmers markets, all that kind of stuff, man. $43.5 billion, that could feed a lot of fucking people, not just one. So for all you vegans out there, Mrs. Weedman's got something to talk about.
Yeah, I do. I don't know how I feel about this. Are you ready for hemp-based meat? Yep, it's a thing. With more people ditching red meat and seeking healthier, more sustainable options, we now have access to so many meat alternatives, right? All the meat alternatives in the market were designed to mimic the experience of eating red meat and chicken. Many of them market to consumers to appeal to those who are trying to live more sustainably and healthier lives. But there's one surprising alternative: hemp-based meat. Sure, there's a lot of options out there when it comes to meat alternatives. They include jackfruit, tempeh, tofu, soy meat, and more. So why would we need a hemp-based meat alternative, and why would it fit well into the market offerings? Well, hemp is renowned for its superior nutritional profile, especially when it comes to protein, which vegetarians and vegans notoriously lack in their diet. Around 25% of hemp seed calories are from protein, which is around the same to that of lamb meat and beef. In addition, hemp seeds are already a complete source of protein, which is extremely rare in the plant world. Simply by eating hemp-based foods, you can already get a great quantity of essential amino acids through your diet. And that's not all. Hemp is also rich in essential fatty acids and healthy fats. They have magnesium, potassium, iron, vitamin E, zinc, sulfur, and sodium. However, the issue is that many meat alternatives contain dangerously high amounts of sodium and fat to make them more flavorful. Other plant-based proteins aren't very bioavailable because of the presence of phytates and lectins, which are anti-nutrients. There are also many people who are allergic to gluten and soy. This leaves those who want better, tastier, and truly healthy meat alternatives wanting more. And that's why using hemp-based meat alternatives are so much better. A company called Veggie Holdings Limited published a press release sharing plans for their innovative vegan hemp protein products through the brand Plant-Based Foods, which will be selling their products through the Veggie digital marketplace. Veggie already offers thousands of sustainable food and living products that empower people to live more sustainably. Veggie has built a unique community within the sector that shares in their mission to make healthy, vegan-certified products more widely accessible, said Braylon Davis, Planet-Based Foods president and CEO. Our selection of delicious plant-based meat alternatives are perfect fit for Veggie's expanding portfolio of sustainable products. There's Victory Hemp Victory Hemp Foods. They're a Louisville-based business-to-business food processing company that's working on developing innovative technologies, converting hemp grain into proteins and oils that are used for food and beverages as well as cosmetics. Traditionally, hemp seed oil and protein have been gritty, and they have a strong, earthy flavor that has not been popular with food formulators or mainstream consumers, explained Ali Roos, Victory Hemp Foods Director of Marketing to Producers Market. And that's why we began to focus on the hemp heart. At Sustainable Foods, a New Zealand-based hemp-based meat maker, they revealed last year that they intend to boost exports within Asia Pacific for the next 5 years. They were previously selling under the name The Kraft Meat Company and creatively changed their product name to Plant and Chicken. And there's an asterisk between the PLAN and T, and then an asterisk between the chick and the letter N. So Plant and Chicken with asterisks that are strategically placed with the intention to reflect their core values of nutrition, protein, sustainability, and New Zealand provenance. The best way to describe it, it's like a piece of chicken breast or thigh, just with the health benefits of high fiber and low saturated fat, due to the hemp being a complete protein source, which also has cardiovascular, neurological, and anti-inflammatory benefits. Hemp protein products are already widely available, but the same isn't true just yet for hemp meat. These are exciting additions to dietary options for people who want to eat less meat or no meat at all, no matter what the reason. Given the superior nutrition profile of hemp, it's easy to see why so many people are tuning into it.
Well,
Interesting. I think I'd give it a try.
Yeah, I've
had protein powder.
I put 2 scoops of hemp seeds in my smoothie every morning.
Yeah, and I've had hemp protein powder. It's earthy.
Right.
You got to put.
You doctor the hell out of it, though.
Yeah.
I mean, you've had a good black bean burger before that you really like, and it's got chunks of corn in there, and it's got a bunch of spices and stuff in there. I mean, I'm sure you can make anything taste good if it's all natural.
If anything, it would be more on the savory profile. It would be really easy to make it savory 100%. And flavorful. Yeah.
Let me ask you a question.
Ask me.
What would you do if a mom was giving a neighbor was giving our son a vape pen for sex?
Oh my gosh.
What would you do?
Well, have her arrested.
You wouldn't bop her in the nose first?
Yeah, I think I'd do some karate because in my head I think I have a black belt. I know I could chop kick.
This Tennessee mom. Sorry, I'm not laughing anymore, but Mrs. Weedman made me laugh. This Tennessee mom accused of trading vape pens for sex, charged with raping 9 boys.
What?
Yeah.
Is she? I hope she's in jail.
Tennessee mom has been accused of raping 9 underage boys with whom she swapped vape pens for sex, prosecutors say. Miss Melissa A. Blair, 38, was indicted by a grand jury on 23 charges, including 18 counts of aggravated statutory rape, for 4 counts of human trafficking by patronizing prostitution, and 1 count of solicitation of a minor. McSinn County Director of Schools Lee Parkinson told press conference on last Tuesday that he received an anonymous letter claiming Blair was sleeping with a number of students at McKinn Central High School. He informed the Tennessee Department of Children's Services, which in turn contacted McKinn County Sheriff's Office, who obtained a search warrant for Blair's home and went to interview her. The search warrant revealed additional evidence, and our investigation grew larger as more parents and victims contacted them. The charges relate to 9 underage boys, but investigators believe that there could be many more victims. 7 of the known victims are still juveniles. 2 more were assaulted while still juveniles, but are now adults, the sheriff said. Investigators claim that the assaults took place between 2020 and late 2021 and involved teens aged 14 through 17. It appears that Mrs. Blair was communicating with the juveniles on social media, arranging meetings with them, and trading items for sexual encounters with them, Sheriff Guy said. While the sheriff refrained from going into details about the items up for trade, one of the alleged victims' mother told the WTVC-TV that Blair offered her son vape pens in exchange for sexual favors. People focus mostly on the perpetrator, that they don't realize how it devastates the family, how the families are at home, and we don't know what to do next. I have no idea how to go forward with this, she said. I cannot in words describe what it feels like to be going through and what we're going through right now. It is very emotional, and you can imagine, and none of them are happy. This isn't just putting her behind bars. It's about families healing, she added. Blair was not an employee of the school, Sheriff Guy said, but been involved through booster clubs like many parents. She also previously had a child at the school, but they later transferred. This type of case is difficult and shocking, even as seasoned detectives, and I want to commend our staff for the many hours of identifying, locating, and interviewing victims and their families, collecting physical and electronic evidence, as well as many days of putting together a search warrant and subsequent case files, Sheriff Guy said. He called on the parents of other potential victims or victims themselves who have since turned 18 to come forward. Blair was released on a $100,000 bond and is scheduled for arraignment on February 28th. As a condition of her release, she can have no contact with any of the victims and cannot go on school property. Crazy. NCAA moves to lower cannabis penalties for student athletes and increases THC thresholds in drug test. That's great for the NCAA. That's great for players. What would you do? What would be a cool birthday? Turning 47. Would you go skiing topless and smoke a big fat doink?
I don't know how to ski.
I know, but would you just...
If I could, sure. No, I don't know. I don't know.
Sled?
Sled. I go tubing.
Tubing with your boobs out, smoking a big fat joint?
Maybe.
Well, that's how Chelsea Handler celebrated her birthday.
She did?
She did. There's a picture of her, too. She's got like 2 American flags on her nipples.
Oh, so she had like little pasties.
Yeah,
on.
little pasties.
I could do. Yeah, that I would do.
Smoking a joint and skiing.
That's cute.
Yeah. Just
love it.
Living life, like I said. Just live, baby. Just have some fun. I'm not saying go topless and go skiing, but just live life, everybody. Mrs. Weedman, you got anything else to say?
No.
Nothing?
No.
I can't wait to smoke some more of that joint.
I'm pretty high still.
I'm going to smoke more of that J.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Give me some more of that doink. Bubba Kush, baby. Bubba motherfucking Kush. Hey, everybody out in the world. Peace be with you all. Please, we need peace and love and kindness in this world. Everybody, we love you all out there. Check us out on Weedman 420 Chronicles on Instagram. Weedman 420 Pod on Twitter. Say hello to Doveboy. YouTube, Weedman 420 Space Chronicles. TikTok, Weedman 420 Chronicles. And then send us an email. Weedman420chronicles@gmail.com. Thank you all for listening out there in the world. We love you, love you, love you. Praying every day for you all out there. Smoke some big fat joints. As Paulie always says, smoke smart. Puff, puff, and away.
Puff, puff, pass.